All right, welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Friday, August 20th. Can't believe we're almost through August, but here we are, folks, day 20, and September fastly approaching. Let's take a look at our space weather right now. A little bit to talk about today. Solar wind speeds are sitting at 309 kilometers per second with a density of 8.8. Spotless days, no, but we do have 2 weak sunspots as we speak. AR 2857, AR 2858. Now, if you remember, AR 2857 was on the western limb of the sun. It is the very, very far sunspot to the right of your screen on the star. It was turning around, Earth facing. It decayed, it reappeared. We were at sunspot number 13 yesterday with 2857, but 2858 has emerged yesterday. In fact, I watched that one develop the night before. Sunspot number started off on 15 and had dropped to 13 before we saw 2857 appear again, and now we have a sunspot number of 25, the same as the cycle. How about that? No sunspot or no solar flares are expected from these two. They are departing the sun and turning away from Earth. KP indice is at a 2 with a 24-hour max of a 2. If you guys look at the northern part of our sun, you will see a coronal hole that is stretching downwards towards the equatorial region. Now, that coronal hole will not be a direct impact, but we should see some kind of solar wind increase, as this will brush against our magnetosphere. Now, if you also notice, looking at the sun, there are several areas of concerns for new coronal hole development. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is that coronal holes form when the corona of the sun is weak. The weaker the corona, the more coronal holes we see. We've noticed here lately that we are upticking towards the solar max of solar cycle 25. So the sun's corona has been a lot stronger. There's been a lot less coronal holes. But here over the last 24 to 48 hours, we've seen a little bit change in that. And it's quite striking because we've watched the sun uptick and strengthen each day. Okay, it is still a weak cycle, even with sunspots on the sun. But we have watched some improvement to the strength of the magnetic connection from the sun to Earth. Well, I'm here to report today that we have had a huge jump in cosmic radiation. 10.7% is today's dosage rate, okay? That is up 1.1% over the last 48 hours. In fact, it's up higher than that, to be honest with you. I noticed this yesterday thanks from a friend of mine from Kentucky, Stephen Hill, messaged me and said, gee, Jake, cosmic radiation's up today. At that point, we were at 10.3%, and we've jumped up another 0.4% since yesterday. So why are we seeing the sudden spike in cosmic radiation? Well, for those of you who follow this channel and know a little bit about this subject, it is no surprise to you when you see the amount of coronal holes on the sun. That means the sun's corona is weak, which means if the sun's corona is weak, the magnetic connection to our planet is also weak. And what does that mean when we have a weak connection from the sun to the magnetosphere? Well, that means a weaker magnetosphere because we have a weaker connection. So as we see these coronal holes popping up, and the one up north is pretty impressive, then you've got a few peppered off to the side and one directly in front of us that looks like a large one, but is just areas of corona that's struggling to stay together from not forming an earthquake or forming a coronal hole. Now, usually Earth-facing coronal holes mean earthquake watches if you have a KP indice between 0 and 2. Right now we do. My earthquake watches always go from 6.5 to 7.1. Big deal, right? Because we've been having quite a bit of those. But this one might pack a little more punch, and we'll just have to keep our eyes on this situation right now. But the reason why we're seeing an increase in cosmic radiation is because of the weak corona, which to me, this is now week 3 of the sun acting like it's in a solar minimum. Now, I know we've had a couple of small sunspots that's been on the L. We had 4 just the other day, but those didn't exceed sunspot number 47. Folks, when you're in an uptick of a cycle and you get 4 sunspots, you should be closer to 60 to 80 on the sunspot count. And right now, we're barely living up to the minimum of sunspot numbers per active region. So the last couple of weeks have been surprisingly weaker than what we've seen, especially July. July had it out of the park. We had a day with 6 sunspots on the sun one time. We had X flares. We had all kinds of stuff going on. And everybody's like, all right, here we go. Solar cycle 25 is on the way. There were headlines coming out about an early maximum. There were headlines coming out about how we're going to have 202 as a smooth sunspot number from this cycle because of how strong it's going to be. Then you remember about a month ago we were talking about Terminator events and how those are making predictions for some folks out there a little higher than what the actual cycle is going to produce. Nobody knows the exact science of how solar cycles work. Okay, right now everybody's taking their best educated guesses and their work and trying to put together something that is feasible. I heard that a certain solar physicist out there, the initials of SM, is now regretting ever making predictions about this particular solar cycle. And because they don't know when this Terminator event is going to happen. They don't know. They really just don't know. And they're going to keep adjusting their smooth sunspot numbers from 200. At last I saw they dropped it down to 192. Each week that goes by without this Terminator event will supposedly, they'll lower their forecast. So big confusion for most of you out there because we've been seeing cosmic radiation dropping steadily, slowly but surely. We were in the 8%. That to me was showing us that we were starting to pull away from those record highs of 9% and 10% cosmic radiation dosage rates. Well, for the last 24 hours, we have seen our sun load up on cosmic radiation here in the atmosphere because of how weak the sun is right now. Now, we do have a couple of things we need to watch with this. With the sun being weaker, the magnetosphere being weaker because of that, not protecting us from galactic cosmic rays, will allow our atmosphere to reload and become abundant once again with tons of cosmic radiation. And we had Fred drop tons of rain in the Northeast, across the United States and South. What's next, right? Let's go over to SPACEWEATHER.com and continue talking about space weather here. I will show you what we have in store as far as the sun is concerned. Do you think the sun's going to wake up? I don't know. It doesn't look like it to me. I know I mentioned something about sunspots. Folks, I'm telling you something right now, too. I'm not so sure this information has been updated. And I was checking this out this morning, too, on SDO and other sites, and I'm not sure these maps are quite... In fact, I can confirm that now. The bottom of this screen tells us 812. So I'll have to double check my source information here. I do apologize. These pictures are not accurate at the time. So I can't make a forecast on what we have coming sunspot wise, but you can always get a good feel for what's coming around the bend when you watch the sun spin around to the Earth facing. This large magnetic filament released too yesterday, folks, that happened in the northeastern limb of the sun. Very impressive. And if you look at the last frame, all right, sorry about that. If you look at the last frame of that particular solar coronal hole, let's just blow this up. What I'm trying to get out here is, if you can't see the backside, you watch the outside ring of the eastern limb. This is incoming. So we know when you see the corona puffed out like this, we have an active region for sure. Is this a sunspot? More than likely. We have another region down here in the southern hemisphere, in the eastern limb as well. So we have 2 potential regions for sunspots coming out. Even though I can't see the far side info, I'm going to tell you right now, these 2 are definitely going to be sunspots if this was a sunspot, okay? And this was small. You can clearly see the plasma loops here in the still shot on this SDO picture. So it does appear that we will have 2 active regions that are going to be turning around soon, possibly becoming the next 2 sunspots. That would put us at AR 2859 and AR 2860. That has not happened yet, but So what's my concern, right? Here is coronal hole 1, very small. Coronal hole 2, very small. Coronal hole 3, which is going to be the most impactful, but it's going to graze our magnetosphere. So solar wind is not going to be an issue. The corona being weak will continue to allow more cosmic radiation onto our planet's atmosphere. What does that mean? Well, we have to watch Hurricane, that's right, Hurricane Henri. Hurricane Henri is predicted to strengthen into a hurricane and hit the southern New England region. This thing has a very weird track right now, if you ask me. This thing is going to take a 90-degree right turn and say, hey, I'm going to give you all some rain here in the northern part of the Northeast, the New England area. Mainly areas we need to watch right now is Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Even New York City could be a part of the wind field of this. Folks, we're going to be expecting storm surges. All kinds of problems could happen too, because we also have a high tide as well. This could hit during high tide. But the biggest storm surge so far, Buzzards Bay, 3 to 5 feet, Cape Cod 3 to 5 feet, Nantucket Sound 3 to 5 feet, Long Island Sound 2 to 4 feet. So as you see, as we get further south of Connecticut, closer to New Jersey, you're looking at a 1 to 3 on that scale. Here are the watches that are up right now. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Here are the watches for this hurricane. Providence, you see you're in a hurricane. Oh, that's enough. We don't want to hear what you have to say. Come on. All right, so we got hurricane watches for most of Connecticut, Rhode Island. Boston right now, you're not experiencing any storm watches, but you will be seeing flooding, rains, and coastal flooding along the area as well. New York City right now is out of the woods, but again, I expect heavy rain and high winds to be a problem for New York City as well. As far as the rest of the tropics, we got Grace bearing down, and bear with me, folks. I do have some video of Grace hitting central Mexico as it made landfall. It was emailed to me by a gentleman. I'm still trying to work that out, and hopefully I can show it to you guys. But Grace going to continue to truck through the Gulf and head into Mexico. No changes expected with that. It is still a hurricane at this time. And then we have Henri, which will be a hurricane. And then we have this little guy out here, this wave out here off the coast of Africa, still a few weeks away to talk about. Actually, I don't even know why it's mentioned, because it's only got a 0% chance of development. Now, what does this mean altogether? Because we have cosmic radiation all of a sudden spiking up to 10.7%. And if we know our atmosphere is loaded with cosmic radiation, highly charged particles, okay, this is the wind field, by the way, folks. We also know that there is potential for this hurricane here, Henri, to stall. So right now they're only forecasting 2 to 4 inches of rain to this area that you're seeing here in the Northeast. Connecticut, Massachusetts, southern parts of New Hampshire, and the very southern tip of Maine, southeast I should say. So with the factors of cosmic radiation being high, the potential for this storm to stall out, they're uncertain still. This storm is not all the way 100% wrapped up. But they're not sure. This thing could stall out. Now, the GFS is showing a weaker storm, in my opinion. 985 millibar pressure. This is the 0.6 version, though, and usually they're a little bit more conservative with this. In fact, this was the model that showed us this storm a couple of days ago before it even broke headlines. So usually the 0.6 is something we don't follow. The 18Z is the one that is almost a consistency of concern. This one turned into a consistency of concern once we saw this on the models, and now people are sticking with it. It has tracked a little bit further east, I will say that. But this is a tight little system, not huge. The millibar pressure here, as it makes landfall, is right around 984. So this thing's still close to Cat 1 hurricane strength. But notice this isn't drawing a lot of moisture in the entire Northeast, at least yet. And I think if we had an ability to include solar forcing into these models, a little bit higher variables, I think you would see a lot more rain showing up on this map. Now, we already dropped about 1 inch to 3 inches of rain from Fred here in New York all the way through the rest of the Northeast. It's been raining for 2 days straight. So with cosmic radiation up, we will see how that will affect Henri. Because I don't expect the cosmic rays to stay at this 10% value for very long. We do have another tropical storm that we are watching off the East Coast again, Sunday, August 29th. That's only a week or so away. So we kind of want to put this in the watch box as far as things that we could potentially see. This one seems to move away from the United States because of high pressure that's dominating, guess what, the Great Lakes and the Northeast once again. So this is where we start to see more hurricanes appear between August and September. And right now, the GFS is signaling that Florida could be dealing with the storm system by September 5th. 'Tis the season, and we are starting to see them pop up on the radars. So far, we have not had a hurricane landfall yet in 2021. We've had tropical storm systems, but we have not had an official hurricane landfall yet, and it's August 20th. So let's hope it continues. But I think forecasters are pretty confident about Henri becoming a full-blown hurricane by the time it reaches the Northeast. All right, let's take a quick look at our weather here in the U.S. over the next couple of days. We'll take a look at the maps, these short-term forecasts I love so much. These are more accurate, so I trust these. Rain showers possible across the North Plains and the Northern Plains states as well. Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, enjoy your high pressure, your dry, beautiful weather with no humidity. And rain showers possible for much of the East Coast and the South for today. Let's take a look at Saturday's weather. More rain showers as Henri becomes closer to the shores of South New England. Rain again for the majority of us here in the Midwest through the Northeast, across the Northern Plains state. Across the Northern Plains states and across the Central Plains states as well. Southwest, unfortunately, staying hot and dry. And then we take a look at Sunday. Henri has finally made it close to landfall. And again, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Boston, Massachusetts, you guys are going to see the biggest impacts from this storm. We don't expect this storm to go any further inland, but maybe just kind of rake the rest of the Northeast coast like a nor'easter almost. But a couple things we need to watch. One, there's low shear to fight with. 2, there's no dust to fight with. 3, the waters are warmer, and that's why this is going to become a hurricane, but cooler closer to land. So it will show some weakening as it makes landfall. But the 4 and 5 remain. 4, how will this storm act? Is it going to stall out and drop more rain? And 5, if it stalls out and drops more rain, with the abundance of cosmic radiation that we have in our atmosphere right now, we're basically loading up for this event. So it'll be an interesting Sunday and Monday to see if the Northeast gets record-breaking coastal flooding and record-breaking rainfall from this particular storm, not just because of how big and powerful this storm is, but just from the simple fact that we have so many ingredients right now that say that Henri could be Henri and surprise us all with more rainfall than is expected than what we are seeing right now in the forecast. I want to say hello to Matt Burrows out there in McCook, Nebraska. Good to see you, my farmer friend. Yes, sir, getting geared up for football season. Indeed. I am ready. Pizza Hut, hello. Knife Collector, as always. Glad to see you here, bud. Jerome, good to have you from Rochester, New York. Melody, hello. And a few others in here that are more than loyal to us that I see in the chat. Always a pleasure to see you guys. It has been a crazy year, but it's only just begun, right? We're only getting into the thick of things, especially now that hurricane season is going to pick up. It should anyway. And then we'll have to deal with the early fall weather that we'll probably start seeing across the Northwest and the mountain regions over there, across the Northern Plains states, and eventually here in the Northeast and the Great Lakes. Don't want to pinpoint when we could see fall-like weather, but all indications show that right now it's not going to be super early in certain parts. But I feel like the Northwest I feel like they're in for a treat as far as colder weather, unfortunately. So we'll keep our eyes on that. All right, guys, have a great Friday out there. Be good to each other, and we will talk soon.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.